All right, let's just get going. All right, today's live is we had Jon Theisen, right,
Yes.
on the radio a couple weeks ago, and our schedules didn't line up to have him on right afterwards like we normally do the following Tuesday, and my schedule didn't either. So now we have him on. We're going to talk about commercial insurance, life, a bunch of stuff. All right.
Sounds good, Ed.
And Jon, thanks for being on the show today. I know you didn't really want to do it. And I don't mean because you don't like the show. It's a lot of people have a problem going on these programs, going live because they're worried, but it's not that big of a deal.
I'm glad to be here. I'm a little bit more relaxed this time than I was last time.
All right. So, I was looking to ask because, we had these questions we had on the radio, but I was like, I'm going to see if there's anything out there that people should ask, right? What are the top 10 questions or whatever? And I'm telling you, it's just really boring. I mean, do I need a broker, right? Yeah. I mean, these other ones, are you an insurance agent or an insurance broker? So I want to hit that one because that's important, because an insurance agent is stuck in their what they have to offer with their company, right? And a broker can go to many different companies.
Yes, just like in your business. I've been both. I've been an agent where I worked for one company and I sold that company's product and I marched to their orders, if you will. But as a broker, I represent multiple companies, which really means I can represent the customer.
Much better.
Yeah. It is better for the customer. It's a little bit harder. You got to juggle more companies out there and keep up on it. But there's more brokers than I believe out there than there is agents directly.
And they call that a captured agent, right? Is that what that's called?
Captive agent, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So almost like you're in prison. I'm just kidding. No, but in my industry, it's the same thing. You can have lenders, direct lenders, or you can have brokers, and you have a mortgage banker. I mean, there's many different levels, but as a broker, I liked it because I never have to say no, right? I can find what they're looking for. Not that I have to use that find stuff so much, but it allows me to have that opportunity if I need it.
Yeah, you develop relationships with multiple insurance companies, and a lot of them want your business, as we discussed when I was on your radio show. A lot of them are in my office. In fact, we spent last week in Huntington Beach with about 40 different insurance companies, and they were coming to us, and us being the brokers and saying, this is our product, this is what we have. So they come to me, and then I can take their product out to the clients out there and the customers in the marketplace and see what's a good fit.
All right. So that was actually a good question. The other ones are asking you basically what's your expertise with that. I don't want to get into that because I know you have you're already there. The question is what's the one question as a person that's coming to you to get insurance that we don't ask that we should ask?
How do I control my costs?
Okay. How do I control my costs?
Yeah.
There's a question.
Good question, Ed. Good question. I mean, a lot of people look to their broker and they say, I want a good price. And say, all right, well, there's more to it than just, It's not magic. It's who are you? What's your business model? What are you involved with let's talk workers' comp. Workers' comp has been in the news, well, since Schwarzenegger back in 2005, it was blowing up, but it's been under control a lot more the last few years. So the question is, how do you control it? Well, you got to be involved. As an owner, you got to be involved with your employees. And that means you got to train them. You got to set expectations. Hey, I'm running a construction company. I expect you guys to do ABC, follow the rules, driving. A lot of rules in insurance, as you can imagine. You got a guy out there. I had people at my house this morning, I'll share with you, to put in a pool at 6:30 in the morning. They showed up in a couple of extra heavy trucks to unload a bunch of concrete and gunite. So for those guys, they better be ready. They better know what they're doing. They better be safe. They were laying down tarps out in my front yard over my driveway to keep the concrete from flying all over the place. And that was just an example right there of a company that's very professional as far as how they treat the customers, and they're safe. The ownership's involved. So kind of a long-winded answer there, but
no, we got plenty of time, so it's take as long as you need.
Okay.
No, I mean, we got plenty. Yeah, just talk and answer the question. This isn't like radio where we're going to be interrupted every 4 minutes by Marlene telling us to be quiet so she can do our station ID. Right. This is just free-flowing talk. What's nice about it, and so the communication goes back and forth. All right. So since you had that company at your house, here's my first question: would be, if they got hurt on your property, who's responsible for that?
Wow. Well, I signed
as an insurance person.
Yeah,
I'm asking that question.
The general contractor, the pool contractor, is going to be responsible for that. Now it depends. Did my dog get out there and bite somebody? If that's the case, then I'm responsible for it. So I signed a contract that says my dog stays in the house. And did he stay in the house? Well, we let him out for a few minutes to go pee in the corner, but we put him on a leash and we watched him. And he's a golden retriever, so he's pretty good. But the rest of it is I'm sharing my property with a pool contractor, and there's a hole in the ground, a giant hole. There's rebarb sticking out. There's concrete being poured. There's forms being poured. But this pool contractor has come to my house multiple times to check out the site. Not every day, by far. Maybe not as often as I wanted them to, but they're responsible for their employees' conduct and safety at that house, in conjunction with myself, the homeowner.
Right.
Like I said, I can't leave the dog out there and stuff like that.
But you want to make sure the company you have that come to your house has insurance, though, right? Because if they don't have the insurance, then they look to you. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah, good question. Actually, that came up in the contract that we signed, that they showed me who their insurance was with. And in fact, I actually started talking with them about being their agent, but they're
shocking.
Quite shocking. Yes, they're quite happy with their agent. They've been with this person for a while, and they're happy. So I just backed off and said that's the main thing right there. But they showed me that they had insurance.
Well, I think a lot of people don't think about that when they have people come to their house and do work. I know you're a commercial person, but since we were talking about your house, sure. A lot of people don't think about that. They have to make sure whoever's doing work on their property has insurance. So if they get hurt or whatever, they don't come to you to look for your homeowner's insurance to take care of it. Right?
Exactly. And I've seen business owners' policies out there where they'll put in what's called contingent workers' comp, because a lot of people hire handymen, gardeners and stuff like that who maybe are flying under the radar. But yeah, you want to make sure the people that you're bringing on your property are insured. Gosh, you never know. They could back their truck into your car or something in the morning. So there's a lot going on. There's definitely a lot out there. All
right. So let's get off of that. Let's get on to business insurance.
All
right. So I started a business. It's just me. Do I need insurance?
What are you doing?
That's a good question. The answer. So all right. So, but if I was a contractor, yes, I would need insurance.
I'll start from the top. Workers' comp. State law says you have to have workers' comp. People say state law. All the states have workers' comp. Across the United States, every business who has an employee other than the ownership has to have workers' comp. And there's a little history behind this, if I can tell you.
Sure. Go ahead. Tell us.
Yeah. Back in the day, before workers' comp was mandated as being mandatory for all the businesses out there, if an employee had an issue with their business owner over an injury or something like that, oftentimes if it couldn't be resolved, they'd take them to the courts. And the courts at one point were overloaded, they felt, with lawsuits between employees and employers back and forth. And so our government got together and said there's got to be a better way than bogging down our court system with employees suing employers and employers suing employees, because as you can imagine through our history, sometimes it works out great and sometimes it doesn't. So the courts put that out there, and then the legislatures came up with workers' comp and mandated it. And people tell me, I hear this all the time, Ed, hey, I never use it, man. It's a waste. And I said, I get it. But have you ever traveled to other countries? It doesn't work. People work here a lot more than they do in other countries. It's an imperfect system, this workers' comp, but it puts you to work. Because if you're going to start your business, you hire somebody, you put workers' comp in, if the person gets hurt, you got somebody backing you up. And it's unlimited. It's unlimited. There's no $1 million limit or cap on it. I mean, we're talking contractors, it's unlimited. So that's number one if you have employees. Number two is kind of the liability side of things. You don't have to have liability, but in your office here, unless you own this building, I'm going to be safe to assume you rent it. I'm assuming that your landlord wants you to have general liability.
Yep.
Okay. And that, if I slipped and fell and broke my hand on the way out there and decide to sue you, I could also sue the landlord since they own the building.
Right.
And that's pretty common. So all tenants are going to be required to have general liability. Does everybody do it?
No.
There you go.
Because there are some places that require it and some places that don't require it.
Exactly. It's unlike workers' comp, where the government stepped in due to the courts. Here, they're like, hey, it's up to the business owner. If you don't want to force your tenants to have general liability, that's on you. The other part is the auto insurance and the health insurance.
Hey, let's go back to that real quick before we get into that. So
okay.
The reason they require, I know for a fact here, is because they're attorneys that own the building.
Smart. Well, what is it? I get asked this all the time. Who owns the property? If you loan your car to somebody else and they have an accident, it's going to come back to the car owner potentially. It's the same thing with the building, because the landlord's responsible for the maintenance of the building, or they put it on you,
right?
And sign a triple net lease. But so do you have to have insurance? I mean, I get people who have to have it. I get people who want to have it. They don't want to have issues. I've seen a lot of guys like that. And I say guys and gals who are like, man, I don't want to get sued. I'd rather focus on making money. And they put the insurance in place over here to take care of those headaches if they come up. And that's kind of something that I was talking about at the beginning. If if you see your insurance as just a policy that takes care of issues, that's one thing. But if you realize that it's part of the whole process of making money and controlling costs, you get the right plan, you understand the coverages. There's a lot of things you can do. You can raise deductibles to control price, but make it part of your plan. Put it in place and pay attention to it. I'm getting a little wonky there, I think.
No, that's fine, because the biggest thing I saw about what you were talking about is the insurance is to protect you from a liability that could cost you more money. And that's when you're controlling your costs. You're controlling the fact of now you know what your costs are going to be, because you're not going to have this all of a sudden an employee gets hurt and you get sued from it. And now your business goes under because they just got a thing for $1 million that you don't have.
Right. And not to mention your time. If you're going to get sued for it, you're in court and you're going back and forth.
Attorney charges and all that other fun stuff.
That's one of the things that's not talked about often in workers' comp, is just the headache that a workers' comp claim can cause to a company. Are you out there taking care of your employees and taking care of your customers, or are you over here dealing with your insurance company? So deal with the agent, get things set up front, and then the insurance company will you're still going to wind up being involved if there is a claim, but they've got the bank behind them.
Okay, so workers' comp we talked about liability. What else?
We've got auto, we've got health. I don't do a lot of health myself, and health is
we're talking about employee health.
Employee health, yeah. I just speculate on that one. It's not really my
I have it for our people. It just makes it. Most people want it. For me, I'm lucky. My wife works for Kaiser, so it's just ridiculously amazing insurance that we have.
There you go.
So marry well.
There you go. I like that. Well, health does come into play in the workers' comp also. If you don't marry well, workers' comp always ask if there's health insurance in place, because they're gonna price it. If there's no health insurance in place, the insurance company's likely to believe that somebody's going to get hurt when it's really a sickness or a disease, or they got hurt playing ball on the weekends or something like that. They're going to come in and claim workers' comp. So you get a discount on your workers' comp if you have health. It's not something that's set amount. It's just up to it's a discretionary. It's up to the underwriters. So a good health insurance plan, and you know what? 401k, paid vacations, those can lower your workers' comp costs. It's one of those things where the more you take care of your employees as a business owner, the insurance company looks on that favorably and says there's less likely to be an issue there.
You got a little statement for you.
Jon married well too, Marlene. Thank you, Marlene.
All right. So is there something, so say that one of your employees runs to the store for you, right, in their vehicle. Mm-hmm. What liability do you have on that? In my vehicle, like a company vehicle? No, in their own vehicle. Oh, good question. So they're basically on the company time. The company's liable for that. So if they get in an accident, you're responsible for their vehicle and the other person's vehicle, or what are you responsible for? You're responsible for the other person's vehicle, but not for their vehicle, unless it's coming out of the goodness of your heart. But there's something called non-owned auto. It's a very common policy out there. In fact, I was looking at one today with a mutual friend of ours, and whenever their salespeople travel out there in their own car, which salespeople often travel in their own car, if they cause an accident with a third party, but they're at work, the insurance, oftentimes people will have, $200,000-$300,000 liability limit, and auto liability for a business is almost always $1 million or above. So you got that $1 million behind you. So you as a business owner send your employee out to run an errand. If they cause an accident with a third party, that third party can come back through your employee's insurance first, because they are driving, number one, and it's their car, so they're responsible for the maintenance. But if the claim gets too big, then your insurance will step on, or will back them up. Or if they just have a really good attorney coming after you really well, then you want to have the policy. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of attorneys out there. Just there, and before they sue us, they're very important. Yes, they are. All right. So how much does that usually run, one of those salesperson policies? Because if they don't always go out, they're not always, but it's occasionally. Is it expensive? No, it's really not. I think the one I looked at today was probably, I didn't see the pricing, but I'm gonna say it's about $500 a year. Oh, that's cheap. Yeah. Yeah. See, a lot of people think of these as costs, and I always say don't step over $1 to pick up a dime. And if you don't have this insurance, that's what you're doing, because you're setting yourself up for a failure. Yeah. 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 Well said. You make a good insurance agent there, Ed. I like that. I like your thinking. It's protect your assets, spend a little money now, so you don't spend a lot of money later on. And it's not as expensive as it used to be with the competition that's out there, right? It's used to be workers' comp, if you're not big enough company, you go through the state plan, right?
not big enough, or you're in a dangerous industry, or you're brand new, there's estate plan is there. There's workers' comp. It's kind of all over the board. There's a lot of competition. When I went down to Huntington Beach this weekend with my coworkers over at Omega Pacific, said there was.
No, I apologize. I didn't say where you worked. Say that again. Where do you work?
Omega Pacific, right here on 12th Street.
And what's your phone number?
338-5500, area code 209.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Competition's good. Does anybody notice watching sports or any other show, the amount of commercials on TV? There's the Allstate guy, he's Chaos, I think.
Right.
There's Travelers, who used to have a dog that now has an umbrella. There's Liberty Mutual with the Emu. These aren't even products I sell. State Farm has a couple of NFL quarterbacks, Rodgers and Mahomes, on there.
Right.
Farmers has, I don't know who the character's name is. He's kind of the guy with the vest.
He always plays. He played Batman's. He played in Batman once as the guy that actually Commissioner Gordon or whatever he is.
Yeah, the latest Batman. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, these are all NFL players, guys in Batman are out there selling insurance. There's a lot of people out there selling insurance. It's a good marketplace. So the competition's still strong. They're not running unless you live in the foothills. Unfortunately, if you live in the foothills in Northern California, they're kind of running.
You're talking about fire insurance, right?
Fire insurance, right?
Fire, but yeah, you have to get the unfair plan, and that's just certain places that you just have that. There's nothing you can do about it. But that's not just here in Southern California. If you're up against any wildlife, the same thing. It could be San Marcos, Vista, Oceanside. They all have that same issue down there because they go up against Camp Pendleton and other places where it could have a wildfire, and you just have it's just how it is.
Right.
And if that you don't have that here, if you move to Florida, now you got to have hurricane insurance, which if you know anything about that stuff, that's freaking expensive.
Right.
It's really expensive.
There's always something out there, and the insurance companies they're like any other business. They want to make money. However, as I spoke about earlier, people want to build their house in the hills, and the bank wants to give them a loan. The bank's not going to give them a loan unless they have a backup plan, and that's where your insurance comes in. So property insurance, I didn't mention that earlier, but if you're going to take a loan,
do you sell property insurance?
A lot of property insurance.
I thought you were a commercial broker only, that you only did commercial stuff. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. I sell commercial property insurance. There we go. Commercial property insurance. At Omega, we do have a division that sells homeowners insurance and auto insurance, and if you have a loan, they'll come into play. But I sell business owners have buildings all the live long day. In fact, one of my biggest segments lately is in a part of Northern California where they're growing the latest recreational cannabis, if you will. And so I sell a lot of property insurance on that because that's a little bit dangerous. Kind of getting into the weeds there. I realize literally the weeds, but I sell a lot of property insurance.
In the weed. So why is it? All right, so let's just talk about that industry, because that's a huge industry. I run into people all the time that either they started in and had all these dispensaries and then they closed them up because it was so competitive. But what's the problem with that? Is it because of fire or just because of
fire, theft, crazy people? And by crazy people, I mean there's armed guards at these businesses all day long, and you don't want somebody.
Because it's a cash business. They should just federalize it and get it done with so they can put the money in the banks.
It's a cash business, and that's a very lucrative crop. I know the almonds make us a ton of money out here, and we're grateful for them, but the cannabis business makes just a boatload of money. So, we see our insurance premiums getting paid by money orders oftentimes on these things, which is odd. They're the only ones that do, but
because they can't deposit a lot of their money in the banks. That's why
something's
federally chartered banks won't take their cash.
Right.
Because the Fed thinks it's still illegal.
Right. And I think New Jersey is the latest state, or is it Connecticut that's legalizing it? And you know what? I got a referral. I had a gentleman who owns a lot of property in the Bay Area, and he referred me into one of his tenants. The next thing I know, this guy's referring me into his friends and his friends and his friends. So I probably have about 15 or 20 clients over there right now who are cannabis growers. They're not distributors. They're not into anything else other than strictly growing it. But back to the property, it's an insurance company wants, just before I came into your office, or asked me about the electrical. Is it potent enough for the lights that they put in the building? Has a contractor come in and inspected it lately? So electrical.
Oh, you're talking about the lights, the grow lights?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm back into the property insurance.
Well, that's what we're talking about. So
exactly. But you want to make sure that your electrical is high output enough to power the grow lights, that it's wired correctly, that you know what you're doing. The insurance company, in other words, I think some of these buildings are $2, $3, $4 million, and we're not insuring the crops, just the buildings per se. But the insurance is very, for that amount of money, you're going to maybe put $15,000, maybe even about $15,000 on a property policy. So believe it or not, there's a lot of insurance companies that want to do that.
I think that would be kind of a niche market. Have you put a video out there that you do insurance for grow shops? Have you done that yet?
You know what? I've been offered to do that.
You should do it.
I've been offered.
There's nothing wrong with that niche because it's all over. And can you write any other state?
Yes. We're Omega is authorized to write.
No, you.
Oh, myself? Yes. Well, I'm an independent agent as part of a brokerage. And the brokerage
I understand.
So they have the contract out there.
I want it, but do you have your insurance license in other states?
No, just strictly in California.
Okay. So you would have to refer to somebody else in Omega.
No.
I just want to try to understand. So my industry,
right?
Unless I'm licensed in all the states, I can't touch it, even if my company was.
So we in the insurance industry, only the company, the insurance brokerage needs to be licensed in every state, and then any producer, as they call us. I'm a producer at Omega. Since Omega's licensed, I can sell in that state.
Yeah, they need to change that in our industry.
Cut you guys loose a little bit more.
Well, yeah, because you have to have. So I mean, for us to be able to do every state, we have to have 50 licenses individually and take a test on it every year.
That's a lot. Because you never know. I had a property owner in Sacramento who owned a restaurant on Madison Avenue in Sacramento. She did a 1031 exchange for a restaurant in Louisiana, and we weren't licensed in Louisiana, but it took us maybe I think it was $80 and about 30 minutes to get it done.
Yeah, that's not the case in our industry. Because I used to be licensed in 47 different states, and we got to a point where I did most of our business in California, and actually used to be a third of all mortgages were done in California. So what more do you need? Right. A third of them all are done here, but yeah, I've been, I get pulled because I do the Helping the Brave for Texas, Florida, everywhere. And Florida's not bad, but some of these states you have to have brick and mortar in still, which is like, can we make these changes, please, to make it easier for us?
Right. Yeah, I hear you. And there's a lot of business going on in other states right now. I think we have a coffee shop program over to Make Pacific Insurance, and John Kirkpatrick runs it, and he goes to these coffee fairs all over the United States, Anaheim, New Orleans, stuff like that. And he meets coffee shop owners. They're small businesses, but they buy from him because Omega has an exclusive deal for coffee shop insurance. So wow. I've had friends move to Idaho. Hey, John, I'm pulling up roots. I'm going to Idaho to be a contractor. Give me insurance. It got a little dicey there. I didn't quite understand some different rules and regulations up there, but I still have their insurance.
See, that's what's great about that, where we are different. So, and that's what I don't like about that. So that needs to change. I guess you got a bigger lobbyist than we do. Actually, they're trying to keep us down. So.
What else can I tell you about insurance? Have you ever heard of the term reserves in an insurance company? If I can explain this, people will come up to me and they say, hey, John, how good is my insurance company? Well, it's nationwide. There's a company I didn't mention earlier, Peyton Manning. They're A+ rate at 16, and 16 says they have $2 billion sitting in assets just to pay out claims, or reserves is what it is. It's the highest rating that they have, but there's a lot of companies, nationwide's just one, that have everybody is rated by what's called AM Best. I don't know if you have that either. And every year AM Best comes and looks at how much money they put aside, because when you give your insurance agent really is the guy you got to trust. I take your money and either pay it directly to the insurance company, or I sign the contract. I have you sign the contract to the insurance company where you pay it directly to them, and that's the majority of the time. And claims that get paid out on average in 3 years, not right away. So the insurance company is sitting on that money, and that's why they're rated as A+, means how financially stable they are. Every now and then I'll meet somebody. Most business owners are like, I get it, I'll just pay the insurance company. But every now and then I'll get somebody who's brand new, and they don't know how this works out. And they're kind of fun. I met a contractor in series about a year ago, and I sat down with him and his wife over at Starbucks and just explained to him, this is how it works. This is the rating with the insurance company. You give them the money. I'm your local guy. I represent you. If something goes wrong, I get involved with the insurance company on your behalf, or vice versa. Maybe I have to explain to you why the insurance company is asking for something. But they'll take your money, they'll invest it, and about 35 to 40% of it actually goes to expenses, which is paying the agents, which is paying the underwriter, and then about the extra 65% is put in reserves for losses. And so the insurance companies every year, part of the reason prices have been good lately is that the stock market's done well. And guess where the insurance companies put a lot of their money? They put it in the stock market.
Hopefully it keeps going, but it's, we have our moments right now. Yeah. We need the Fed to overreact get it opposite so we can go back, because then they'll reduce it and we'll start doing better again.
I think you're talking about the interest rates.
Yeah. Well, no, that's all tied. What the Fed does is to slow things in the market and certain things. And everybody's overreacting right now because the Fed didn't do anything when they should have been tightening a year ago. And we didn't. And, you know, and that's
inflation.
Yeah. Right. And what I'm hearing, they say to get it to stop, we have to be in the teens. I don't see that coming.
Wow.
I see the fact that we're going to start seeing some of this supply chain issue get resolved, but until China becomes unlocked, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Because they're locked down, and that's where a lot of the stuff comes from. And people are making changes, so that comes here locally, but we still have to get through it.
And isn't it interesting how that ties back into insurance? I mean, the stock market, I'm sorry, if interest rates will go up to the teens, you guarantee your insurance rates are going to go up too, because these insurance companies are going to say, I think I need more premium since I'm not making the profit over here on the other side, or even covering my expenses. I could get into, there's loss ratios every year that these companies have. And when I was a direct writer, I heard about them. So your loss ratio is your expenses plus, or combined ratio. Let me back up, combined ratio.
Are we talking about the insurance company?
Yeah, we're talking about the insurance
company. Let's move on. We're only talking about, because, it's in our industry. You want us to go out of business because then you think your mortgage will go away, which it won't. It'll just be transferred to somebody else, and they'll take your payment. But the most important thing that I wanted to talk about today was, if I'm starting a business or if I'm in business, what are the insurances I need to look at so I'm protected? And that's where I wanted to take today's show. And we pretty much did that. Is there anything else you want to add before we go?
I think you covered it. There's workers' comp, there's liability for your landlord, there's auto. You have to have auto insurance for the law. And other than that, you want to cover your assets, cover your inventory, cover your building. Be smart about it. And find yourself a good agent, wherever a good fit is for a customer out there. It could be myself, it could be my partner, it could be one of those captive agents. I think you need somebody that you can sit down and talk to and who can explain it to you. And I know you and I were kind of jumping into the financial stuff there, but really, I've heard the word chameleon a lot. You need to be a chameleon in my position. So you need to talk to the customer about on that level. Is it finances? Is it drivers? What is it? And be professional about it,
and tell you the truth when they talk to you, right?
That would be a blessing.
What I'm getting at is, it's like me. I want to know everything, and then I'll tell you what I need to know, right? Don't tell. Sometimes there's certain things you tell me, it's not going to matter, but I need to know that what I tell people. It's like playing poker. You have to have your cards and know the hand you're dealt, so you know what you can play on that, if you can play that hand or not, and how to play that hand. And it's the same thing with insurance or mortgages. When you go to get it, tell that person everything, even if you don't think they want to know it. Tell them everything.
Yes, well said, because we can work it out. You know what? There's a building. I'll give you an example. There's a guy who has a vacant building here, and most insurance companies run from vacant buildings. And I had a new carrier. The old carrier was raising their prices quite a bit. I found a new to us carrier. They came back to us, and I told this underwriter about the vacant building. He said, how long is it vacant? I said, 5 months ago. I'm cool with that. And everybody else didn't want it, but he was cool with that. So I was like, wow, problem solved.
Right. And because if you don't know everything, you can't fix the problem.
Right.
And I want to thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the radio. If anybody wants to get in contact with you again, what's your phone number?
209-338-5500, Jon Theisen.
Yeah, and if you guys can find out, he's on Facebook. I assume you can always message him. Are you on Instagram at all?
No, Facebook.
Oh, come on, get with the ages. Twitter. God, Twitter.
Twitter, not Twitter. LinkedIn. Sorry, I got 3 kids. They're all over that stuff. I stay off of it.
Well, LinkedIn's great to be. So find him on LinkedIn. That's how you spell his name. And again, Jon, thanks so much for showing up today.
Ed, it was a pleasure. Thank you. And we'll see you at Rotary. You can find me at Sunrise Rotary.
There you go.
And you.
Yeah. And if you can't find him, reach out to me. I'll connect you.
Sounds good.
All right.